News and views heard here on the mighty 790 KFGO, K-Fire 550 and KCJB 910. Amy, is it okay to finally disclose who is in studio with us? These are big guns. These are two big guns in the history of North Dakota politics. Can we admit that? One's an R, one's a D. Former Governor Ed Schafer and former Lieutenant Governor, Tax Commissioner Lloyd Omdahl. Gentlemen, both of you, welcome to News and Views. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Lloyd, I've never got the privilege of speaking to you on the radio. Now I really know why. After visiting with you, you're a print guy. You don't listen to the radio.
That's
unless
true.
It's public radio. But we got you today, whether you like it or not.
And when former students get snotty, I go back to their record books to find out exactly how much they knew.
Well, that isn't hard for you to find out. You know, and I've been pretty open about that. So, yeah, I'll take that shot right across the bow. What we're here to talk about today is Keep It Local North Dakota and your involvement in it. And it appears to me you've had a press conference and you feel that your records are being kind of misused, or quotes being misused. Governor Schafer, you want to speak to that?
Well, I think you know, early on in this campaign, it was real apparent that this is coming on the measure because people are frustrated with property taxes. They don't particularly like them. They're not sure how they're being assessed and how they're being spent. And this measure was, you know, in the collection signature collection cycle, and I had made the comment because people were saying, oh, you know, if you eliminate property taxes, you have to raise income taxes, you have to raise sales taxes. I made the comment is, you don't have to raise taxes to do this. I've been there, you've been there, we've operated under bad budgets, difficult times, bad economics, and you can create the government expenditures without raising taxes. It's not easy, it's not fun, it's not good stuff, but you can do it. And I made the comment of saying, you know, I don't think that you have to raise taxes if this measure is passed. Well, all of a sudden,
I actually believe you're right about that. Right now.
Yeah, and but they're quoting me in that and failing the second part of what I said, which is this is not the right vehicle to do so. This policy-wise removes local control. This shifts the balance of education and senior care centers and parks and rec to Bismarck, away from your county commission, away from your city commission, and I just don't think that's a good idea. So while I'm all for trying to figure out ways of changing our tax policy to the better, this particular effort and the particular measure that's on the ballot is not good public policy. It is not going to accomplish what folks want, and we're going to be looking back on it after election if it passes and say, this was a big mistake. Well, the proponents don't mention that. They just say, you know, Schafer says you don't have to raise taxes. And they're implying that I am going to vote yes and approve this measure. I am voting no. It's not the way to go.
Former Lieutenant Governor Omdahl, I've never been around you and I didn't get a shot or two, but I don't care. I'll still make sure you get a chance to get your vision out here. Now, you're saying the same thing. That I'm reading a quote from you on the back here that says the evils of property tax could fill a book the size of War and Peace. And it comes off as though you are for Measure 2, and I'm assuming you're not.
I am not for Measure 2. I join Governor Schafer in opposing this as a way to do things. And, you know, an honest person would say there are problems with the property tax. That's being honest. But the problems with the property tax are nothing like the problems would be if you just eliminated the whole thing with one fell swoop. That's going to end up with so many problems for so many local governments. It's just going to be impossible to manage.
Ed, let me ask you this. You know, there's this big press on, and I've got a sense from traveling all over the state as much as what you know I do, and you know, I just think that the Fargo poll on the primary is accurate. I do. It feels like the Washington Generals here are supporting Measure 2 and the Harlem Globetrotters are against it. And this full court press is still on by the Harlem Globetrotters. Why?
Well, I think as I travel around North Dakota, Joel, as you mentioned, you do, I think there's been a shift. I mean, you know, initially people were saying, yeah, gee, I won't have to write a check for my property taxes. Yeah, I'm voting for this thing. But I think there's been a fundamental shift as the information's gone out. People have had a chance to kind of study the measure and understand it a little more to say, nah, this isn't a good idea. And I see it at all levels. You know, I see it all over the state. And so I think it's shifting, but, you know, elections aren't done until elections are over, until all the votes are in and all the votes are cast. And things can shift, things change fast, people's moods change. Some event happens, and in 2 days, it can totally shift. And I think, I think it's important for people to understand that this particular issue is one that will be cemented into our Constitution, that will change the relationship between how you deal with your local government and shift it to how you're going to have to deal with your state government. And that's a different thing. You can't go talk to your mayor in your own hometown. You're going to have to travel to Bismarck and testify at a hearing, and how many people are going to do that? So we're losing the local voice in how we deal with it. And I think it's important for people to understand that, yes, it's a great idea to eliminate our property taxes, but no, this mechanism is one that's going to change things for the worse in how you interact and operate with your government.
Former Lieutenant Governor Omdahl, you sat at the head of that Senate as the president of the Senate and oversaw the policy branch of government and got to observe it. They talk about, when I challenge them and I say, where's the protection here? Where's the protection for schools and townships? And they keep throwing at me, fully and properly fund. And I said, those are subjective terms that legislators can easily spin that as though, look, in my definition, this is how I'm fully and properly doing this. And I'd like your take on that, sir.
Well, you take a look at the terrain here and realize that every community in the state, 2,100 communities, have each decided within the framework of the laws that we have, they've decided what kind of services they want to have, the level of services they want to have, and so each local government is unique in that regard. And so we come along with a vague term that says, fully and properly. Well, now, for fully and properly means something else for Noonan than it does for Wimbledon, because each of those towns has already determined what kinds of services they want, and they're not the same. And so, fully and properly in one town or one local government won't mean the same. So what's the legislature supposed to do? One size will not fit all. The legislature just can't meet and adopt a simple formula that sends money back, because you have all this range of differences among local governments. And so each has to be dealt with separately if you're going to be treating them all fully and equally. And if you don't, you're open to judicial action. I could see a town that came up on the short end of a one-size-fits-all suit, and they'd say, we're going to sue over this. And any number of them could sue. And you've got 2,100 out there that will probably be affected adversely one way or another.
Governor, I'm going to throw this at you, because this really hit home with me. You look at the individuals in charge of this, and one of their callings when it comes to their activism and their role in what they're trying to do in developing state policy. You look at Bob Hill, you look at Charlene Nelson, they're always for less, less, and less. And when you get to less, they even want less than that when it comes to that government, whether it be local, whether it be state, or whatever. And I posed this question to Bob Hill. I gave him a bunch of time on the radio the other day in Minot. And I said, Bob, in my time being around you, all you've ever wanted is less government. And so why wouldn't I assume that this is an end around for making sure that my local townships, my local school boards, my local county commission really get hamstrung, and now they're trusting a legislature that you have an easier time controlling?
Well, Joel, as you know, I'm a less is more guy, and and I think we proved it when I was in the governor's office. We were able to lower the cost of return on investment in the state of North Dakota. We were able to lower the cost of our government, and that stimulated the economy to the point to where we put more money. By lowering the cost of our government, we put more money into education and health and safety programs across the state. I think that is a discussion we need to be having. This particular issue cropped up because people get a property tax bill. They have to look at it. They write the check. It's the only one you have to do that. Your income tax is hidden in your withholding. Your sales tax is hidden in your purchase. This is the only one that you have right in your face. And people are going, I'm not comfortable with it. I don't particularly like it. I think that the people are what generated this effort. And Bob Hill and Charlene Nelson are responding to, how can you respond to the people. The legislature hasn't done it. They've tried to deal with property taxes for 20 years and haven't really accomplished much reform. So I don't know. I think it's pretty easy to paint saying, well, if the state didn't have those revenues, they'd have to be forced back. I think the state's spending too much money. Sure, but that's not what this issue is about. This fundamental shift of local generation of ideas and policies and funding of them to the state legislature in Bismarck. That's what this is all about. Whether the motives are to reduce expenditures from the state of North Dakota or not is not the point. What's on the ballot says we are shifting local to central control. Is that what you want?
Ed Schafer, Lloyd Omdahl, both quoted in Property Tax Revolution, It's Our Home, Not Theirs, a book that was written by Robert Hale, Brent Narlock, and Charlene Nelson, and both of them have quotes on the back cover. Both of them saying, you know what, you can use our words, but that doesn't mean that we're on your team when it comes to Measure 2. They're both going to vote no, as am I when it comes to Measure 2. I know many of you out there believe that. If you do believe in polls, we're going to find out. Gentlemen, good to have you in studio. I know you got a lot of calls on media, and I'll let you go and meet with some of them.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it. Yeah, let's get to the Weather Center and get to Terry Spees.